What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today I'm reviewing a designer sneaker alternative that actually looks very similar to the Balenciaga Track Trainer, but it's less than a third of the price. And that shoe is the Reebok DMX Trail Shadow. Over the last few months, I've done a lot of reviews of expensive designer sneakers, specifically Balenciaga sneakers. And a lot of these Balenciaga sneakers, in particular the Track Trainer and also the Triple S, have a very sort of overdone track and trail look to them. It's definitely an acquired taste. It's not something that everyone or even a lot of people like. It's really more of a flex. And in order to get that flex, you usually have to spend upwards of $800. But recently, I was browsing the internet and I happened to find a sneaker which looks very similar to the Track Trainer, except it actually might be more comfortable and more functional, and that of course is the Reebok's DMX Trail Shadow. According to Reebok's website, this shoe is inspired by archival running and trail sneakers from the early 2000s, which definitely explains the crazy and heavily paneled upper, which I've got to be honest is not a look that I usually go for. But the reason I grabbed this shoe is because it just has that sort of attention-grabbing quality that a lot of those Balenciagas have, and it also has that ugly duckling retro look, which I think is really popular right now. While the DMX Trail Shadow might not give you the flex that a Balenciaga gives you, it does give you a similar aesthetic, and in fact, I think this shoe actually looks better than the Balenciaga. Oh yeah, and the retail price of this sneaker is $200, which is $600 cheaper than the retail price of the Balenciaga, maybe actually $700. And the best part is you can actually find this shoe for sale at a lot of different places in a lot of different colorways. Something that I ran into though as a US buyer is that this shoe is not that easy to get in the United States. It's primarily sold in Europe, and because of that, there's a lot of European retailers that have this shoe where it's either sold out or they just won't ship to the United States. So I ended up grabbing my pair from Farfetch and it shipped from Italy. And I was genuinely surprised by how in demand this sneaker is. A lot of sizes were sold out, and like I said, it's almost impossible to get in the United States. But why don't we move on and find out if the Reebok DMX Trail Shadow is any good and if it's worth the money. Jumping into the toe of the sneaker, you've got this blue nylon material which gives the shoe a nice pop, and it's also probably a little bit more durable than a leather or a suede. Just above that, you've got some dark gray mesh on the toe with some clear overlays. And then as you move up on the sneaker, you've got a darker gray mesh that makes up the tongue that's actually covered by these gray and orange rope laces. You can definitely see the heavy trail inspiration on this sneaker, especially on the toe and on the tongue. And these rope laces, while I don't love them on their own, tie in, no pun intended, really nicely with the rest of the sneaker. At the top of the tongue, you've got this orange and 3M detail that has the DMX Trail branding. And then moving inside the sneaker, you've got this really nicely padded gray sock liner. Rounding off the inside of the shoe, on the insole, you've got this trippy orange and black print. As for sizing, the DMX Trail Shadow fit me great. I had no complaints whatsoever. The padding around the heel was awesome, the midfoot was fine, and the toe, while not very breathable, was still flexible enough so my feet didn't ever feel like they were too constrained. Something else I really like about this shoe versus the Balenciaga Track Trainer is that this shoe isn't insanely heavy. That sneaker is like a 2-pound shoe. It's crazy. It's like out of this world. This sneaker is just normal sneaker weight. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's perfect. I'm realizing the main difference between the Reebok and the Balenciaga is design intent. This shoe was designed to be a relatively functional running and trail sneaker, and it looks like that. And it also has an aesthetic that just happens to be really popular right now. The Balenciaga Track Trainer is just trying to emulate this look. It's not trying to really be functional whatsoever. And I'm thinking the weight is there to make it feel like it's more quality. At least I think that's what they're doing. I'm not totally sure. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the Balenciaga Track Trainer seems like it's unnecessarily overdone, just being overdone because it should be overdone. This sneaker is designed this way for function, and that's pretty much it. Then continuing back in the sneaker, you've got this semi-translucent midfoot cage, which at first I didn't like, but the more that I look at it, I think that's my favorite part of the sneaker. It's just so unique and so kind of crazy. And then underneath the midfoot cage, you've got this light gray nylon material with the Reebok logo in white and orange, which actually makes this midfoot cage look much more crazy. The Reebok logo in a couple different colors underneath the midfoot cage is definitely what gives this sneaker the sort of frantic and messy look. And the more that I look at it, like I said before, the more that I like it. Dang, my tastes are changing. I didn't ever think I was gonna like a sneaker like this, but I kind of do. Then moving towards the heel of the sneaker, you've got this white synthetic leather panel that actually wraps all the way around the back of the sneaker, and it's also got these orange accents on it that kind of make it pop. Underneath that detail, you've got more of this semi-translucent plastic paneling, and then underneath that, you've also got this sort of black and silver linear pattern. Then moving down on the sneaker, you get to the detail that I think most closely resembles the Track Trainer, and to be honest, maybe is where Balenciaga got their inspiration, and that's the midsole. The forefoot portion of the midsole looks like they mashed 3 different midsoles together. You've got an orange accent, some black, some white, and then some more orange accents. It also has this very rugged trail look to it, which I really like. And then towards the heel of the sneaker, you've got what Reebok is calling the DMX Sheer Air Transfer Cushion, which seems to be just little holes that allow air to be pushed out when you land on the heel. This detail also has a pretty heavy trail inspiration, which I actually really like, but one of my favorite details is that when you look down on the top of the sneaker at the heel, it's actually sort of pressed out, like pancaked out. So the midsole and outsole portion of the sneaker is much wider than the actual heel of the upper. This detail reminds me so much of those Balenciagas, it's crazy. And I know this wasn't taken from the Balenciagas, I know this is just a stylistic thing, but this is the first thing that I noticed on that pair of track trainers, and I'm noticing it on this as well, and it's just like, it's just such a similar detail. And then finally, moving to the bottom of the sneaker, you've got this really nice trail-inspired outsole. The heel comes in black rubber with these orange accents on the medial side. The midfoot of the sneaker comes with this semi-translucent hard plastic shank plate, which again reminds me a lot of the Balenciagas. And then the forefoot of the sneaker is rounded off with white, gray, and orange rubber. In my opinion, the Reebok DMX Trail Shadow is the perfect alternative to the Balenciaga Track Trainer and a lot of other designer sneakers. It's cheaper, it's more comfortable, it even looks better, at least in my opinion. I think it's an all-around better sneaker than any of those designer shoes. Now to be frank, this design isn't exactly my thing, and neither are any of those designer sneakers, but if you are considering grabbing a pair of Balenciagas in this sort of style, consider grabbing the Reebok DMX Trail Shadow first, because you might be able to save yourself like 600 bucks. But now I would love to know your thoughts on the Reebok DMX Trail sneaker and whether you'd consider getting this over the Balenciaga Track sneaker. So let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.